Welcome to readtheticker.com. Today we're going to review one of Richard Wyckoff's laws, and that's called effort versus results. Here's the three laws: supply and demand, effort versus results, cause and effect. Effort versus results. Price spread should always be proportional to effort expended, volume. If the competent man puts forward a big effort, he should receive a big reward. An example of that in this document is this top here. If you get three thrusts to higher highs with larger volume and it's not making decent gains, so where's all the volume going? This demand has been overtaken by supply. For example, here we've got an up thrust in volume here to 1, that's good movement. Another up thrust to 2, more volume, and another thrust to 3 on more volume, but it's not really gaining that much. Therefore, the volume is being offset with supply. So demand has been overcome with supply. Says up here, despite solid effort, each drive covers less ground than the preceding drive. The poor result is a strong indication of supply. This obviously works in an uptrend as well as in a downtrend. I'm going to review some examples of the inverses. So what happens, we want to see situations where demand is overcoming supply. Here's an example here. This is a gold stock called ABX. Here's a monthly chart. I'll just get my chart positioned. Here's we've got some thrust down here. And we've got some more thrust down here. And we've got some more thrust down here. So we have three thrusts. If you take into account the volume, there's plenty of volume being expended on that thrust down. Pretty substantial volume here, but the thrust is much less. Here, once again, you get heaps of volume, and the thrust is not that great. So as you can sort of see, all the effort on the selling and everything, it's not really going that far. So here we've got, here's a low there, another low there, another low there. So that, all that selling has been soaked up by demand. So what that basically means is that the short sellers are realising that every time they dump some stock or pushing the market down, they're coming up against stronger and stronger demand, which means eventually this will turn. Another example is NEM, another gold stock. Here we've got thrust down, good volume, another thrust down, pretty much the same sort of volume, another thrust down, which looks like a deliberate shakeout. And as you can see, the new lows is less and less on all this volume. So all that volume's pouring in on price action going down. Short sellers and are seeing this, are selling stuff down, and are realising they're getting hit with stronger and stronger demand as price goes down. They realise there's solid demand and support between $14 and $18. So what I would suspect is that we'll end up seeing a base being built, both in ABX and NEM, to see accumulation. This accumulation's already shown its hand here. This is what we call shortening of the thrust. As explained here, shortening of the thrust with pretty good volume, it's just not going the same way. So that means if it's on an uptrend, that means demand has been overcome by supply. If it's on a downtrend, that means supply is overcoming demand. So back here, if you're a short seller and you see this type of action here, you know you're into the picking up pennies in front of bulldozers, and you want to start taking your profits. As wild short, this is probably wild short covering coming in here, and eventually you're going to see a bullish accumulation and much higher prices. So if you're a fund manager or a big investor, you're going to sort of say, I can see the shortening of the thrust here, I see the larger volume going, I see my institutional friends are short covering and also taking a position. After all, it's below the 2009 low. I think it's the 2009 low there. So we actually have a 2009 low, that's correct. So we actually have price probably 2 or 3 standard deviations away from its mean. And lots of people short covering. I would suggest that accumulation of near-man ABX is underway by the major institutions. Once again, I'll say that again. Shortening of the thrust, either up or down, is a sign of demand or supply overcoming the other. Thanks for watching.